And welcome into Hoopsville, everybody. Oops, sorry. A little bit. Got to play with the levels a little bit. We not used to things taking the board to Salem, so I apologize. Things are a little bit screwy on our settings. We'll fix those as we go along here. Hope you're enjoying this. Hope you enjoyed the 2013-14 season, everybody. And congratulations to Wisconsin Whitewater and FDU Florham, champions of Division III basketball and men's and women's basketball this season. Terrific season for both. FDU Florham going undefeated, certainly showing the naysayers maybe a few things, but granted they were number 6 coming in. But we beat a very good Whitman squad in the championship game. Of course, Wisconsin Whitewater winning their second title in 3 years with a probably one of the most incredible championship games we have seen in Salem. Ranks up there with Stevens Point beating Williams as well. Certainly other good games. Certainly don't want to take anything away from those other games, but one of the best, to say the least, in Salem and elsewhere. So congratulations to Whitewater on winning. Tonight on the show, if you want to interact with us, email us, hoopsville at d3hoops.com. You can also tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. Join us on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville. If you have any, that's how you can interact with us. We're going to have interviews that we have already recorded with Whitewater's men's basketball coach, Pat Miller, Williams head coach, Mike Maker, and talk to former Stevens Point head coach Jack Bennett, whose son Nick Bennett won a title this weekend as assistant coach for Whitewater. Remember, he has 2 titles as part of the Stevens Point squad just a few years back. Well, 9 and 10 years ago, to be exact. Gordon Mann also sits down with one of the keys for FDU Florham's win. Point guard Jalea, forgot her name, Lewis is the last name. He'll talk to her, and I'll also hear from Gordon coming up as he helps recap what happened in Stevens Point. We'll also look ahead at what we have on the horizon in 2014, and of course, we also have look back at some of our favorite memories from the 2013-14 season. Again, if you have questions for us, tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. You can also join us on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville or email us Hoopsville at d3hoops.com. It was great to have championships back in Salem yet again. City did a wonderful job to throw a good party there for the men's basketball teams. To be honest with you, despite the score of Williams-Amherst, which, by the way, wow, probably one of the best weekends of basketball in Salem from start to finish. We've had some good games. I haven't said a lot of great games. I think they were all good, even the Williams-Amherst game. I think because of what Williams showed. You know, NABC All-Star Game was a thriller as well, etc. So certainly nothing to take away from anything, but that was probably one of the best weekends of basketball in Salem in at least a very long time. Usually there's always a dud of a game, and I don't think the Williams-Amherst game was a dud necessarily. I think it was still a very well-played game, etc., etc. So, you know, I think it showed Williams was just that darn good. FDU Florham, I mean, talk about a tremendous effort. Beating Tufts in a very low-scoring affair. I think I saw a tweet earlier the weekend that said basically to the effect of FDU Florham scoring 81 points on average a season, or a game, and in that game total, there was 81 points. That says something about just how good Tufts is as well. Of course, Whitman dispatched Wisconsin Whitewater by 15, and then loses to FDU Florham. So FDU Florham, the first MAC Freedom team to ever play for a national championship in women's basketball, ends up being an undefeated national champions. That's incredible for them and their program. Says a lot about what they are able to do and what Coach Mark Mitchell was able to accomplish. You got to figure it may have shook up the landscape just a little bit. We'll ask Gordon, does he think this team can at least make another run? Remember, last year they lost in the first round of the NCAA tournament. This program's not that far removed from not even being on anybody's radar, even in their own conference. So, an incredible feat, to say the least, at Stevens Point. for the women. Whitewater, second championship in 3 years. What they did, that game against Williams, we're going to be speaking about that game for years and years and years to come. It's quite simple. It was incredible. Just amazing how hard fought that game was between both teams. I mean, Williams coming from 15 down to win a champion, to get into a championship scenario, to get up by 4 at one point in the second half. I don't think it was more than a one-possession game for the last half of the game, or last half of the second half, the last 10 minutes. And then the tip in by Mayer, seemingly maybe to give Williams the title. Whitewater immediately inbounds it, a la 2004 in Stevens Point. And Quadri Young goes all the way down the court and ends up having to get around Mike Mayer. Hey, hats off to Mike Mayer. Got all the way back. Are you kidding me? Fouls him. Q did not mean to hit that free throw, but does. And then Duncan Robinson got a decent look from 35 feet away. Missed it to the left, but it had the distance. Unbelievable game. Salem was a wonderful experience as always. Hoopsville at Corned Beef was outstanding. Had a wonderful time catching up with coaches. Glad everybody could make it. And on the flip side of that, also had wonderful shows there. I want to thank everybody for helping us do those shows in the middle of the year. Or in the Salem Civic Center, I should say. By the way, if you're noticing some balloons over my shoulders, that's my gift from my children for returning home. They went and got... the blue one fell. Got blue and orange balloons for me and decorated them. So I thought I'd put them behind me. By the way, new Hoopsville t-shirts are out if you haven't seen them. They just got them on Wednesday. Handed it out to some people in Salem that we saw who had helped us with the Hoopsville fundraising project. We will send these out by the end of the week. We apologize. About a week or two later than we wanted to, but we just able to get a hold of them. So give us a week or two and you will have these in your hands. And thank all of you who contributed to the Hoopsville fundraising project. We certainly appreciate it, to say the least. Again, if you have questions for us, tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. You can also email us, hoopsville at d3hoops.com. And you can join us on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville. Love to hear your take on games, if you have any, and answer any of your questions that you may have. Again, coming up, we've got plenty of good guests. We'll hear from Pat Miller from Whitewater. We'll hear from Mike Mayer from Williams. We'll hear from Jack Bennett, from former Stevens Point head coach. And, of course, we'll even we'll touch in with Gordon Mann as well. Lots of things to consider for next year as well. Regional realignment is coming up. That will have some effect. We were talking to Bob Quillman about that. Just think about the ramifications. Hosting opportunities, how that will have an effect in the Central and other regions. It'll also solve some things. I know for me personally, I won't have to sit there figuring out, okay, which school, this school's in which region again? The HCAC is in both the Great Lakes and the Central, or the Midwest, which will be called the Central. The WIAC's in two different regions. The Landmark and CAC on the women's side are split evenly between two different regions. And as a result, in two different regions for their two different sports. It's a little chaotic. Wouldn't mind it cleaned up, and I'm kind of glad it's coming, but it's gonna change some of the landscape. We're gonna all have to get used to that, right? Just part of the course. So we'll have a few of those when Gordon comes on, get a few of his ideas of the season. Salem, a great crowd, by the way. Probably the biggest Williams fans base I've seen show up. I would swear Whitewater's fans decided to make the effort after their team lost in the semifinals on the women's side of things, only because that crowd was far bigger on Saturday than it was on Friday. UW certainly love Salem. Think about all the championships football has now won there, and now men's basketball. Lots of championships, lots of purple. Last time a purple-colored team won a national championship in Salem was 2009 when WashU completed the back-to-backs. Speaking of back-to-backs, Amherst fell short in just smoked fashion when they took on Williams. Williams just looked outstanding, continuing how well they played all tournament long. Very impressed with how they played. And Amherst, Aaron Toomey hit one shot late in the game. It was a three-pointer. He finished with 4 fouls and 3 points. He was in jeopardy of having his first ever non-scoring game in his career, in his final game of his career. The D3Hoops.com Player of the Year. And it just didn't look like himself out there. And some people asked, well, what defense did they do against him? They didn't really change the defense. I was talking to Coach Mike Maker after the fact. He said they went in with a 2-3 mindset, and they had a box in one ready to go in case they had to isolate on Toomey. They didn't have to isolate on Toomey. They played 2-3 zone the entire game. They played 2-3 zone nearly the entire game against Whitewater. I think there were 2 possessions where they switched to a man-to-man. That defense was working for Williams. And Amherst just unceremoniously punted. Not the way they certainly wanted to defend their national championship, but as Coach Dave Hickson pointed out to us after the game, kind of the same way they lost the last time in the semifinals. Who was that now that I think about it? That might have been 2004 too. Except I think they were trying to go for a back-to-back, so that it would be 2008. But I got to go back and double-check. But he pointed out, yeah, it was 2008 semifinals. They lost by 20-some-odd points in the semifinals. Not even a game. That's fascinating, to say the least. So lots of as it were, in Division III this weekend. Illinois Wesleyan fell short yet again. Been to 6 semifinals, have gotten past the semifinals once. Of course, they went on to win the championship in '97. It's tough if you're an Illinois Wesleyan fan, but as many would point out, you at least got to Salem. That is something you hang your hat on. Nothing to shake a stick at it there at all. So congratulations, to say the least, on that accomplishment. Whitewater, I just played terrific basketball. It was outstanding to watch. It was mano-a-mano between them and Williams. Just mano-a-mano. Hey, here's what we're going to do. Stop us. That's Whitewater's mentality. Williams said, fine. Here's what we're going to do. Stop us. Both teams got stops, too. Both defenses rose to the occasion. Whitewater was exclusively in a man-to-man. Got their stops, gave up their opportunities as well. Williams was exclusively in a 2-3 zone. Gave up opportunities and got their stops as well. That was strictly, as we said all game long, was going to come down to the last shot, come down to the last opportunity. It came down to the last shot. Whitewater hits a layup with .9 left, and Williams gets a 35-foot look at the basket and doesn't fall. You could have played 5 more minutes and that game wasn't going to change. It was going to be nip and tuck the rest of the way. I'm quite sure that Williams would love to have had an extra timeout in the bag. Didn't. That happens. But hats off to both teams on a terrific game. Love the headline, FDU undefeated. FDU undefeated. 1,200 people showed up for the women's championship game in Stevens Point. Pretty nice, to say the least. And FDU Florham goes on to beat Whitman 80-72. Both teams in their first title game in program's histories. And FDU finishes 33-0. It's incredible for that Devils unit. Especially considering the game was tied 62 each late in the game. And still able to pull that off. Whitman falls to 31-2. You got to figure they're a solid number 2. Maybe a number... they're probably number 2. Thomas More is going to be probably a number 3, I suspect. Nothing against Tufts to the rest. It's just my gut. I don't count. I don't vote in it. but really impressive on what the women did. We'll hear more about them coming up in Gordon Mann's interview with Jaleesa Lewis. You'll hear that coming up here on Hoopsville. You'll also hear, again, from Pat Miller, Mike Maker, and Jack Bennett coming up here on Hoopsville. And Gordon Mann will join me late in the show as well. Top 25 vote will come out. You'll get your official Top 25 finale vote tomorrow, though you can pretty much be rest assured that FDU Florham is number one on the women's side and Whitewater is number one on the men's side. It's how everybody else gets slotted into place, as it were. I think it'll be fascinating to see. Off the top of my head on the men's side, since that's where I vote, I'm more than confident putting Williams number 2. The question becomes, is it Amherst 3 and Illinois Wesleyan 4, or is it Illinois Wesleyan 3 and Amherst 4? Or is there somebody else that somebody might throw into the mix? What about Stevens Point, the former number 1 team? Are they now number 5? Maybe. Or is someone going to put them in that slot, considering they still think they're that good? Who knows? Lots to determine. Those will all come out tomorrow. So, FTU Florham, the Devils, won a championship. I'm pretty sure if you looked back at the beginning of the season, they were not necessarily the forerunners to even get this far in the tournament, let alone, get to the second weekend, let alone the end of the tournament. By the way, great line in the article about them winning is Mark Mitchell, the head coach, saying he wished he had 34 games so he could have tied DePauw's record. That's where the conference kind of bit him a little bit. I think, if I'm not mistaken, only 2 rounds of conference tournament action there. I could be wrong. That's where that 34th game would have been. So plenty to cover here on Hoopsville, plenty of interviews up ahead here on the show, and we'll get to those here shortly. Again, you'll hear from Pat Miller, Mike Maker, and Jack Bennett from my interviews that I conducted in Salem. And then on the women's side, Gordon Mann with Jaleesa Lewis from FTU Florham. You'll hear those interviews all coming up here on the show. You'll also hear from Gordon Mann himself. We'll get him on the show, get his take on things in Division III. You have any questions for us, tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. Email us, hoopsville at d3hoops.com, or Facebook us at facebook.com/Hoopsville. When we come back, we will have those interviews. I will start with Mike Maker from Williams, talk about a devastating loss. And then you'll hear from Pat Miller from Wisconsin Whitewater. And then you'll be able to hear from Jack Bennett, who's won a few titles at Stevens Point. But more importantly, his son has won a few titles, I should say, at Stevens Point. And now his son has won a title as an assistant coach as well. That's all coming up here on Hoopsville. If you have any questions, again, email us at hoopsville at d3hoops.com. Tweet us at d3hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. Join us on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville. All ways you can interact with us, and we certainly hope you'll consider doing so here on the show. We'll also give you our take on some of the great memories of the season, and then look ahead at some of the things to keep in mind coming up next year. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Basketball Coaches. More Hoopsville right after this.
Division III schools offer academic scholarships instead of athletic scholarships. This really puts the focus that the student athlete needs to maintain that GPA.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
I think there's more opportunities for academic scholarships in Division III. A lot of people pick schools just based on the sport and don't get that experience.
Being a Division III athlete and developing my leadership skills has definitely put my name out there and helped me get more recognition on campus, but more recognition nationwide. I did win the Jostens Trophy, which is based on leadership, academics, and then how well you do on the court.
I'm also the Schwartz Scholar of my class. Schwartz Scholarship is basically a scholarship that is given to a student who's identified as a likely leader.
In the end of the day, it won't matter how they play on the field, it will matter how they do in the classroom.
College basketball lives in Kansas City at the College Basketball Experience at Sprint Center. The College Basketball Experience is the place to get your game on. It's not a museum, it's an experience you won't forget. Discover the history of the game in the National Collegiate Basketball Hall of Fame, featuring the Gallery of Honor, Mentor Circle, and Honor Theater. Suit up in the latest CBE logoed Nike gear at the CBE Hoop Shop. Elevate your game today and visit the house that college basketball built.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at d3hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
Welcome back to Hoopsville. We're courtside at the Salem Civic Center following the national championship game between the Williams Eafs and the Wisconsin Whitewater Warhawks. And Coach Mike Maker from the Eafs now joins me. And Coach, that was one of the best games I have seen. You guys come from 15 down in the second half, seemed to be struggling just a little bit, maybe a step slower than you wanted to. You guys changed gears. The game went on its head at that point, and then it just seemed like a mano-a-mano game. X's and O's, who can do it better, right down to the wire.
Yeah, congratulations to Whitewater. They're so well coached, and their quickness, their physicality, and their toughness got us out of rhythm early in the game, and I think it's very difficult for us to assimilate that. But once we got accustomed to it, I thought we got everything we wanted on the offensive end, and who would have thought that we got outshot from the three-point arc. That was the difference in the game. I mean, we shot a higher percentage from the field. We made more free throws than they attempted. We had single-digit turnovers against pressure defense. Yeah. We didn't get crushed on the offensive glass. They had 13. We had 9. I mean, the stats were all in our favor except, the final score, and then, from the three-point arc, which is our recipe for success. So, it's a heartbreaking loss, but, I'm really proud of our guys, and tough locker room, obviously. Sure. But we've had a phenomenal year, and I hope they'll think big picture, and, it's been a heck of a ride.
I almost want to say the turning point for you guys might have been the play that people are going to be talking about for years, and that was Mike Mayer telling his cohorts to get out of his way. He was going to bring the ball up the court himself, crossed up Hearn falls to the floor. I could hear coaches behind me all aghast. Yeah. But that seemed to be the kind of spark that kind of fueled everybody else. Was that feeling on the sideline as well?
I don't know. I mean, Hearn's fantastic.
He is.
He's a load down on that block and a great player. And listen, we use Michael. He's a unique player, right? And he's a point forward. He thinks and plays like a guard. That is part of our offense, actually. When we go against teams like this, I probably should have gone to it more, quite frankly, is we let Michael bring it up as a secondary ball handler because they had the quickness advantage, and but not at that position. Sure. Right? And away from the goal, Michael is very comfortable and, able to get us into offense quickly.
Not to have you wallow in it, but let's talk about the last few plays there. There was a sequence in the last few minutes where literally it was one team takes a blow and another one takes a blow. They take a three-pointer, hit it after 40 seconds of basically not doing much on offense, ties the game. You called timeout. I know you were probably looking to try and take the lead. The feed into Mayer just seemed a little bit too far. Was that kind of the swing right there for you guys? You couldn't get the lead and now you're almost playing from behind?
Yeah, I don't know. I probably should have called something else. I'll take blame on that. And it's no one play wins or loses a game. They're magnified down the stretch. I thought, on the play where Duncan had the long two, I thought that was a good play. Yeah, right? Great play. Give the ball to one of our better players. And then the option was actually to throw it back to Duncan for a three or a dump down to Mayer. And if he didn't have anything, he was told to go one-on-one.
Gotcha.
And that's what he did. Yeah. And we were trying to get him to the foul line. It would have been better for us to get a whistle there because it would have stopped play. We'd have set our defense. And I had to use timeouts to set offensive plays. I didn't have one to use after the tip-in, otherwise I would have. And Michael made a great play on the tip, and Duncan made a great play to get a look. Yeah. But credit their point McHugh, as Pat affectionately calls him. I mean, he's fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't think he gets enough credit. KJ's awesome and the big boy in the block, but I think Hugh's their quarterback. He reminds me of the Robertson kid we had at Williams, where all the credit goes elsewhere, but he's the head of the snake, and is fantastic. And I thought at the end of the game, credit him, but us allowing him to get to his dominant hand was disappointing. But we, it was a scramble play.
Yeah.
I glanced at the clock. I think it's 4.6. I could be wrong on that.
Roughly.
But I thought our guys made a great effort, particularly Michael, getting all the way from 94 feet on a tip-in all the way back, and to challenge that shot at the rim.
Well, honestly, if it's not for some English off the glass, that shot maybe doesn't fall. With the play you guys drew up, you got Duncan Robinson the look from about 30, 35. That's probably the best you probably had in that scenario. Was that what you guys were looking for?
Good question, Dave. We got that play from Coach Acuff at Alabama Huntsville. We tried to run it in our first game of the year where twice, actually, where we lost to Southern Vermont.
Right.
And we hit the volleyball hanger twice. But because we had negative residue left over from that game, we never ran it again, even in practice. But they know it. But I'll take the blame on that as a coach to not work on late game situation.
It was a good look.
Yeah, it was.
Had the range.
Yeah. We wanted the ball either, we were going to set a screen Mayer for Robinson. Okay. If we can throw it to the rim, we throw it to Mike. Gotcha. Catch and shoot. They knew there was less than a second, so there's no dribble. So we wanted our two longest guys. Yeah. Right. We had a long guy take it out, I thought it was a decent look considering 0.9 left and how well they guard you.
Well, and you guys have had a penance for that long pass to work out all season in many different ways. So I not that surprised you got a good look. Yeah. You look back at this season, you had 3 losses to Amherst, you avenged that, you had the Southern Vermont loss. You're playing in a national championship game that maybe not everybody thought the East would make. You guys certainly went on a roll in the NCAA tournament. This is not a game, in my opinion, you guys hang your head on. I know that's hard to hear, but from your point of view, right after a game, I admit, the season as a whole, above expectations?
I don't know about above expectations. Certainly met our expectations. Our goal every year is to try to perform at the very best of our ability. And I thought going in, this is our most talented basketball team since I've been at Williams, and the deepest team, and that we could make a run at Salem. I thought, we were preseason number 1 by 1 poll. I thought that was a little high for us, having lost our starting backcourt. Yeah. However, I thought we were talented, and but losing to Southern Vermont on the first night, a lot of people wrote us off, and then certainly losing 3 games to our arch rival, no one was talking about us, right? And that actually served us well. And we were at our best the last 2 weekends, and including tonight. This game was more physical than we would like. Sure. And we're a free-flowing team, a finesse team, and not soft. Competitive team, but they're going to win a physical game, and they did. And credit them, 1 second away from cutting the next.
Oh, absolutely.
So, but I told the guys, Dave, it's really hard, but I'm really proud of them. And it's come that close, but we got great kids. They represent the school and the program the right way.
Absolutely. Looking quickly ahead, you lose good guys in Mike Mayer, you lose a guy in Rookley and Epley, but you bring back. Rookley's coming back. You're right. You also had 3 guys on the bench that didn't see much time here in the championship game, but you bring back the Duncan Robinsons, the Mike Greenmans, the Rookley. Sorry, I'm getting it confused in my head already. Okay. After the game, and I'm done.
We lose 2.
You bring
Mayer
2 good guys, but you bring back a whole host of guys, and maybe those who don't realize are good coming off that bench. Sure. You got to feel good about making a nice run next year too.
We certainly do. We think the cupboards certainly aren't bare. I think the future is bright. And listen, I think sustained excellence is a difficult thing to do. We haven't been able to get to the top of the mountain, and our 2003 team at Williams did under Dave Paulson's direction, and but to get here 4 times in 5 years says a lot about our institution, a lot about our basketball program, and a lot about our kids. And, we're proud of that. And, our goal next year will be the same, is to try to return to Salem and bring a lot of pride to our institution with the way we play on the court and the way we act off.
We appreciate you coming on after the show. After the game. Congratulations on a terrific season. As always, as you know, I give the last word to you. Any final thoughts you want to say to those who may be watching?
The exposure you give the student athletes at this level is phenomenal. I think you guys do an incredible job, and we're grateful for the exposure that our players get. And I think I'm a lucky coach, and I know that sounds crazy after a heartbreaking loss, but I love my guys, and I think they're champions even though we didn't get the trophy.
Well, congratulations, like I said, on a terrific season. I appreciate you coming on the show. Mike Maker from the Williams Eves, who fall by 2 points to Wisconsin Whitewater in the championship game. Have a safe trip home. We'll look forward to seeing how you guys do next season. We'll play more Hoopsville coming up right after this.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at d3hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
I know sports is important, but having the academic part along with it is a big plus.
I've discovered in myself, a newfound ability to overcome adversity at all different angles. At a Division III school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual. The end result in my mind is you just become a very well-rounded person.
Before I came into college, I didn't really think I'd be able to balance so much. It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
With a D3 school, there's a lot of time for other opportunities. The coaches expect a lot of you during soccer, but after soccer, that's your own personal time to really find out who you are and other opportunities that you can pursue.
By balancing all of my interests, basketball, my leadership skills, and academics, I'm able to better prioritize my life and to manage it.
College basketball lives in Kansas City at the College Basketball Experience at Sprint Center. The College Basketball Experience is the place to get your game on. It's not a museum, it's an experience you won't forget. Discover the history of the game in the National Collegiate Basketball Hall of Fame, featuring the Gallery of Honor, Mentor Circle, and Honor Theater. Suit up in the latest CBE logoed Nike gear at the CBE Hoop Shop. Elevate your game today and visit the house that college basketball built.
Welcome back, Hoopsville. We are in Salem, Virginia, as obviously this is a Sunday night show, but we're pre-taping this. And, Coach, I appreciate you coming on the show. Pat Miller from the champions, Wisconsin Whitewater, win by a scant 2 points for a title. I don't know where to start with this one necessarily. It was 2 teams with completely different styles. Early in the first half, midway through the first half, you guys certainly seemed to be dictating how this game was going to be played. Did that breed any confidence, or was there something in the back of your mind going, Williams is going to do something here?
Oh, I knew Williams was going to do something. We, watched enough tape on them. You don't win that many games, and just to get down that amount and fold it up in the first half. They're a very good team. They have great personnel. They can score in a variety of ways, and I thought we were doing a good job of putting a lot of pressure on them. They struggled with that. They made a great adjustment. They moved their offense out further because we were doing a good job getting over the top of some handoffs and some screening situations, and they moved us up, and that set up some backdoor situations, and we weren't quite as good defensively through that stretch, but there was no point ever I thought that Williams was not going to be there the whole time.
Seemed like they just changed gears about midway through the first half, got a little bit more intensity, a little bit more energy. Mayer brings the ball up, crosses Hearn up. Just seemed like things...
In fairness to Reggie,
he doesn't see that every day.
95% sure he slipped on the blue surface in the middle of the floor, because I saw one of the
I haven't seen anybody else slip on that.
Well, one of the Williams kids did later in the game. You can check the tape. So I have to protect Reggie on that one because it looked bad, but I don't know it was totally
trust me,
his
there were
fault.
a number of coaches behind me going, wow. But that seemed to be the catalyst for them. They come roaring back on you guys. They only showed man-to-man defense twice, I think, the entire game. They showed that 2-3 the whole time. It really came down to, and I talked to Coach Maker earlier, it felt like it was mano-a-mano. We know how we're running our stuff. We know how we're running our stuff. We're just going to take it to you. Whoever's going to have the ball at the last second or whoever's going to get the last stop is going to win this one.
I think that's a fair assessment. And what was great about it is neither team lost the game. We won the game. It was play after play after play. They made a great putback to put them up, and then we made a great play to win the game. So, I'm sure he's extraordinarily proud of his guys, the way they played in the semifinal and the way they brought it tonight. It was a great championship, and it's a game I'm proud to have been a part of, and it will be a cherished memory. And trust me when I say this, if we would have lost, it would have been extraordinarily disappointing. But you walk away from these games knowing you were a part of a really good basketball game, and you have a lot of pride in being part of that, and I'm sure Williams feels that way.
One of the most interesting matchups was Mayer versus Hearn, and it was two different styles of basketball that seemed to merge together nicely. Hearn did a pretty decent job with him on the defensive end, really tried to take it to him on the offense. Mayer on the flip side handled him very well defensively and tried to take it and use his own finesse. That seemed to be the game for both teams. How can we get our guy to have some advantage inside? Did you guys think you ever gained it? Do you think you played better than you anticipated?
I didn't think we gained it. I thought Mayer did a very good job. I thought his length bothered Reggie, and they brought some other guys down there. The bottom line for us is we just don't shoot it well enough from the perimeter to get people really stretched out, and Williams did a great job at taking advantage of that, and not until late in the game Bryson hit the big three did we exploit that, but we didn't exploit it very often. Our game is getting to the basket, and that's what we do well, or getting inside, getting Reggie post touches, and I thought Mayer defended him well, and I also thought they did a good job of taking away some of our lane penetration. They made it tough for KJ. Some of his finishes were just great finishes. They were not sketchy defense at all.
Interestingly, at the end of the game, you had a couple key moments. Obviously, the key moment when Hearn fouls out of the game, you have to bring Egan in, who has struggled a little bit. You couldn't keep Egan on the floor very often. He was picking up some fouls, but he seemed to settle down just a little bit. The other moment I thought was key was you guys had about a 40-second moment there where you got an offensive rebound. You really weren't getting anything done on defense, or on offense, I should say, and Bryson buries a 23-footer to tie the game. That had to be a relief for you after that struggle there.
It was big because, emotionally, I could sense our guys, I wouldn't say frustration was setting in, but it was definitely difficult for us.
Yeah.
And coming into this game, I think Bryson was 0 for 20 in his last three-point attempts. So for him to hit a couple tonight was big, and in particular that shot, because that gave us some life. You could just see our body language change to the point where, okay, maybe we can win this.
And then you guys they come down the other end of the court, call timeout. They want to get the lead, and then an errant pass to Mayer that gets into your hands. Some things are going back and forth, but then they get a great look at a basket. Mayer tips it in. 4.9 seconds left. They could have called timeout. You guys could have called timeout. Why didn't you call timeout?
There's absolutely no way I would ever call timeout in that situation, especially when you have a player like Cordell Young. We work on that with our guys, and we tell them if we practice that exact situation, and we get the ball in his hands as quickly as we can, as far up the court as we can. And when he was about at mid-court, I knew he was going to get to the basket, and I thought there was a great chance he'd get fouled or at least have a shot opportunity. Maybe if it was chaotic and I thought we needed to call a timeout, I may have, but I just think our best case scenario is him with a head of steam, rolling down the floor. Williams unable to set their defense, creates the greatest opportunity for us, and
well, interestingly, is Duncan Robinson almost gets him stopped at the three-point line. Somehow he gets past Robinson, and then Mayer, who had the tip in, has all the way gotten back. And if it's not for a little bit of English, that ball maybe doesn't fall, and you're going the line to shoot two instead, down one. Certainly a dynamic play for me personally, kind of reminds me of Michael Jordan in the heyday of the Chicago Bulls. You don't call timeout, you get down there, defense on your heels. But where did you kind of get that mentality from?
Playing at Whitewater for Coach Vandermillen, who won a couple national championships, that was always his philosophy. And just over the course of time, watching games, I just really believe, as a coach, there's not there's a lot of gray areas, and there's no 100% situation. But I thought, given our personnel, given that situation, our best case scenario is not to call timeout. And most often, we have a guy I trust enough to put the ball in their hands and say, okay, you need to go make a play before they get set. And in particular, Cordell has an unbelievable ability to get past people. He gets off the floor extremely quickly, and he finishes at the rim. And even though they had players somewhat in position, there was enough space for him to maneuver and get to the rim.
Talk to me about KJ Evans. This tournament was almost a coming out party. He'd had a good season. He averaged double figures, but he had an amazing tournament, scoring 20-plus points, I think, in every single game. Is named most outstanding player. I said jokingly on the air, he's not a fundamentals guy. Every shot I saw him take off balance isn't really the look you're looking for, or it's a little touch pass. There's nothing set about him, but he made a huge impact in this tournament and made a huge impact in this game.
Well, he's a great competitor, first and foremost. The guy wants to win as badly as anyone I've ever coached. He's a great athlete. He's improved tremendously as a basketball player. Last year when he came into our program, great talent, wanted to win, didn't always know how to go about it the best way, and he's learned patience. He's learned to trust his teammates. His skill level has improved. He's did an amazing job rebounding this year. That's one area where he improved dramatically, and I think he'll just continue to get better. He works extraordinarily hard, and trust me, he'll want to follow this up with something special next year.
You guys have a tremendous season. Unfortunately, Stevens Point was in your way on trying to get a conference championship, of course, but you're able to get past that, get all the way here to Salem, win your second championship. For you as a player and as a coach, you've now won championships in both. You've now won 2 titles as head coach of your alma mater to give them 4 total. What does that mean to you?
It means a lot. I obviously love being at Whitewater. It's a great university, so many great supporters there. We have so many great alums, great players who have played in our program, and I just feel like, I'm in charge of taking care of the basketball program, and I'm responsible for all those people who played and contribute and help us out, and it's just great for me to see success because there's so many people that have contributed to our success, whether it's former players. Our boosters are awesome. They do a great job for us, our administrators, and what I told my wife, that the best feeling when you win a national championship is when the trophy gets raised. There's so many hands on that trophy that have contributed to the program and got us to the level where we have 4 national championships, and as well as other people, it's a difficult task. You have to have great players, you have to have great matchups, you have to have some luck, and they're hard to come by, so we feel very fortunate and we're very proud. Talk to
me about the season. It was incredible from start to finish, had its ups and its downs certainly, but it ends with a national championship. But even if it didn't end with a national championship, you played in probably one of the best Division III title games in a number of years. Tell me about what your thoughts are of the season shortly after winning.
It was, every season's a journey, and we didn't get off to a great start, lost a couple conference games on the road early, got it back together, and I thought we were playing great basketball. Then we had my leave of absence for my cervical spine surgery.
I still think that was planned.
Well, it worked out pretty well. If I said it was planned, I'd probably look smarter than I am. And I thought we were playing great during that time. Nick did a great job leading against Stevens Point, and that victory was really our signature win. I think that's when guys really believed, all right, we can beat anybody. If we play well, we play a certain way, we're capable of beating anyone in the country. And I think as a team, you need that signature win to get over the hump and really believe. There's the big difference between wanting to win and really truly believing you can win, and I think that was the turning point for us, where they thought, hey, we can get this done if we go about it the right way.
Interesting enough, though, you also had that big loss in the conference championship to Stevens Point. How did you guys reload from that? Because even people like myself are like, wow, I don't know what to make of Whitewater going to the tournament now.
I'm telling you, I'm more and more convinced every year, if you don't need to win the conference tournament championship to get in the tournament, I'm not so sure you want to win it. The 2 years we've lost in that game, there's no cutting down the nets, there's no celebration, you have to refocus, you just suffered a loss. I just don't know that going into the tournament with a long win streak is a great thing. And the 2 years we've won national championships, we had to deal with a little adversity, get refocused, and obviously worked out well for us.
Yeah, it worked out very well with a big win here. I know there's plenty of celebration to come, but Whitewater as a whole is certainly doing a lot of celebrating. The football team, as everybody knows, is champions. They've been perennially coming to Salem. Now you have 2 championships in 3 years. Your women's team went to the championship weekend 2 years in a row, finishing 3rd this year. I'm sorry. Yeah, I've lost track. Well, I may correct that later on Hoopsville if I'm wrong. But track and field, it did well. Wrestling has done well. Whitewater has come, not maybe to the forefront, but has emerged certainly as a team and a program that everybody has to keep an eye on. What's a championship like this mean to that type of standard? And on top of that, what's the standard now like at Whitewater?
Oh, the standard's very high, but the great thing about it is when you go out and recruit people who are competitive and want to have success and want to compete for championships are attracted to our athletic program. We have great academic programs, so oftentimes the academic side is a very easy sell, and it's just created a culture. I really believe that there's mental blocks to winning. You know, I always look at Bannister in the 4-minute mile, how long it took to break that mark, and then in the next 6 months, I think 8 people did it. Yeah. So once the mental barrier was gone, it fell, and I think at our level, sometimes people think national championships are things that other programs do and that are things that are out of reach, and when you're at Whitewater and your peers are winning national championships, you see how the programs operate, you see how hard everybody works, and you believe and know you can compete at a national level. Our gymnastics team just won the national championship. Yes. Our wrestlers were runner-up. Our women's program's outstanding, and I think that type of success breeds some confidence and some knowing that you can get it done on a national level.
Have you officially asked Salem to change the name here to Salem, the city of Whitewater?
No, I have not. I'll let our administration handle all that
You guys
stuff.
come down here often and certainly do well, to say the least. Coach, I appreciate you coming on after the show. Congratulations on the championship. As always, we give you the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those who may be watching?
Just, you know what, it was a great experience, and like I said, it's just great to be part of such a fabulous college basketball game. I'm glad that the nation got to see the best of Division III basketball, because it really was a great battle between two very good teams.
Very good. Congratulations once again. Pat Miller, Wisconsin Whitewater's head coach, and yet again champion for the 2nd time in 3 years. More Hoopsville when we return.
College basketball lives in Kansas City at the College Basketball Experience at Sprint Center. The College Basketball Experience is the place to get your game on. It's not a museum, it's an experience you won't forget. Discover the history of the game in the National Collegiate Basketball Hall of Fame, featuring the Gallery of Honor, Mentor Circle, and Honor Theater. Suit up in the latest CBE logoed Nike gear at the CBE Hoop Shop. Elevate your game today and visit the house that college basketball built.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at d3hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
Division III allows you to be able to give yourself to other things. Not even just participate in them, but really get involved with them if you want to.
There's a lot of interaction. It's not just sitting back, taking notes. You're actually doing hands-on things and better preparing yourself for your major.
Choosing a Division III school, I've had the opportunity to develop my leadership skills and to be more involved on campus.
Division III in athletics, affords students the opportunity not only to participate in intercollegiate athletics at a competitive level, but also gives them the opportunity to, engage in the other interests in their campus and in their lives outside of that sport and outside of the academics on the campus.
And to have opportunity to have time to join clubs and being able to play basketball, it allows you to just be able to do everything you want to do. I wouldn't change it for the world.
Welcome back to Hoopsville. We are courtside at the Salem Civic Center. I'm Dave McHugh, and I'm now joined by what may seem strange to some people, a Stevens Point legend in Jack Bennett, but of course your son, assistant coach for the Whitewater team, just won a national championship, 2nd time in 3 years. It's got to tear you a little bit, but you got to be an awfully proud dad as well.
Well, awfully proud, and this is just a reminder of just the class and the quality of Division III basketball. I mean, I remember that 9-10 years ago, and this game today. I mean, Williams is a terrific basketball team, and Whitewater just toughed it out. And that last play by Q, that's a big time play. I mean, if that's not a number 1, 2, or 3 on ESPN, I don't know what is. But it's just terrific basketball it's played, and I hope people around the nation give it its due.
You ever see two dichotomy different teams? I mean, Whitewater comes in with a little bit of a physical nature, want to go man-to-man with you, want to get in your face. Williams came in with a 2-3 zone that's just suffocating, daring you to do things, and then executes like a machine on offense. It didn't seem like those two should match up, and man, it turned into one of the best games we've had here.
Well, Williams showed a lot of resiliency when they went down 15. They played a great rest of the first half. To borrow something, and my brother said a couple weeks ago, is the zone going to win, or is it going to be the man-to-man? And that was when his son's Virginia team played Syracuse.
Yeah.
And tonight, the man-to-man just eked it out. And they are two great teams because they believe in their systems.
Yeah.
It's one thing to play a system and then to have players who just don't buy in, but both teams believed in what they were doing, and it just happened that Whitewater made the great play at the end.
You've been around a lot of basketball. Where's this game rank? I know it's fresh after the game, so it might be a little bit biased in one direction, but where does this rank in the games you've seen?
Well, the way it ended, it's very similar to 10 years ago.
Absolutely.
And you were there. You saw that Williams-Stevens Point game. Williams, Dave Paulson's team was just terrific, going for their second title in a row, and I still remember back and forth, and we hit that shot with 2/10. This game will rank right up there because of the dramatic ending, but it just shows there's great quality, and the way Williams looked last night against Amherst, nobody would have wanted to play them, and that's just a quality basketball team and well coached.
Of course, you were the Stevens Point background. They unfortunately didn't have the run they really wanted to get here. Whitewater takes advantage of that opening, as it were, to get their second title in 3 years. Has the momentum maybe shifted here in the WIAC? Is Whitewater maybe the team everybody should really be saying is number one, or is it still 1 and 1A?
Stevens Point had a terrific season. I thought they played a little tight at the end. I mean, they got through the first weekend and almost got knocked off by Marion, and then finally the bullet got them with Emory. No, you can't take anything away, and Tyler Tillema is one of the finest players in the nation.
Absolutely.
Stevens Point's good, and they're going to be good. I'm proud of that place. I mean, my brother went there in the late 70s, and we kind of rejuvenated the program. I'm very proud of the players that have come through there in that school. But Pat Miller and I were always good friends, even when we really competed. And he called me this summer and said, I'd like to talk to Nick if he'd be interested. I said, give him a call. I wouldn't mind seeing him back in the Midwest. And they really work well together.
You bring up your son. Well, wonderful segue for me. He gets 2 national championships here in Salem with his cohort, Jason Calso, to win national championships for Stevens Point. Now he wins one as an assistant coach for Whitewater. It's for him and for you. You've got to be proud for a son who's really achieving well, not only on the court now, but as on the bench.
I am proud of him. He's has depth of experience at the Division I level when he was at Florida Gulf Coast and at Texas Pan Am. He's seen the good and the bad side of basketball, and he wanted to get back to winning basketball, and I knew that would happen in the WIAC and at Whitewater. He knows the game, and I'll say this, the sons of the elder Bennetts are much more calm than the older ones. My brother and I were a little more animated on the sideline, but Nick and Tony at Virginia, of course, they are intense competitors, but they really keep their composure, and that's because they do take after their mothers more than their fathers.
Well, they at least got the basketball brains from their fathers. I appreciate you coming on and joining us. I always give the guests the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those who may be watching?
Just you keep up the great work for Division III basketball. I mean, it's one of the most quality levels of basketball in the nation, and it's guys like you and Division III hoops and all that you do with your website that really make it of great interest to the fans.
Thank you.
Thanks,
that means
Dave.
a lot coming from you. Appreciate it. Jack Bennett, former Stevens Point, of course, proud father of Whitewater's Nick Bennett, who they win the title. We'll be back with more Hoopsville right after this.
Thanks, Dave.
I know sports is important, but having the academic part along with it is a big plus.
I've discovered in myself, a newfound ability to overcome adversity at all different angles.
At a Division III school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual. The end result in my mind is you just become a very well-rounded person.
Before I came into college, I didn't really think I'd be able to balance so much. It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
With a D3 school, there's a lot of time for other opportunities. The coaches expect a lot of you during soccer, but after soccer, that's your own personal time to really find out who you are and other opportunities that you can pursue.
By balancing all of my interests, basketball, my leadership skills, and academics, I'm able to better prioritize my life and to manage it.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at d3hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
College basketball lives in Kansas City at the College Basketball Experience at Sprint Center. The College Basketball Experience is the place to get your game on. It's not a museum, it's an experience you won't forget. Discover the history of the game in the National Collegiate Basketball Hall of Fame, featuring the Gallery of Honor, Mentor's Circle, and Honor Theater. Suit up in the latest CBE logoed Nike gear at the CBE Hoop Shop. Elevate your game today and visit the house that college basketball built.
And welcome back to Hoopsville, actually live. Appreciate you tuning in and watching the show here tonight as we continue to wrap up the 2013-2014 season, looking at the champions of Division III. And want to thank once again Pat Miller from Wisconsin Whitewater. I want to thank Mike Maker from Williams, and of course, also want to thank Jack Bennett from Stevens Point talking to me in Salem. And that was all conducted yesterday, as you can probably guess. And want to thank all of them for participating. Again, spectacular result for Whitewater, I should say. And spectacular result for Williams. Not to take anything away, that team was in it right to the end. I mean, one of the best final few minutes of the game. I think in the last 10 there were 11 lead changes. 10 minutes, that is. Countless ties. It was a spectacular game. And during those interviews, I started working on my top 25. You can't probably really read much of that. On this column here is my previous poll. I'm starting to fill it in. I already have my top 2, which are probably no surprise. Whitewater 1, Williams 2. That will all come out late tomorrow afternoon. The top 25 votes will be tabulated and put together. Question is 3, 4, 5, and the rest. Is it as cut and dry as putting Amherst and Illinois Wesleyan into the 3 and 4 slots? Do you think something else? What do you do with Stevens Point, who was number 1? What do you do with Cabrini, who was number 2? Wash U, in my case, was 3. So lots of things to figure out there for top 25 voters. And we'll see how that all works out for them, to say the least. And obviously I am trying to figure it out myself. Of course, the men were not the only ones who had national championships. Of course, on the women, FDU Florham winning. And again, first national championship for the program, 33-0. That's now back-to-back seasons we've had undefeated champions. DePaul going 34-0 last year to win a national title, then getting almost all the way through the season undefeated, and then lost their second game to Whitewater in the round of 8. Now FDU Florham's on 33 in a row. We'll see how long they can keep undefeated. Find out how much of them coming back. Gordon Mann will join us in a few minutes. Talk about that. We'll also talk to him about his take on Division III basketball this season and the landscape ahead as well. But FDU Florham, outstanding game, to say the least. not only the win over Tufts, no pun intended, a tough Tufts squad, but a spectacular win over Whitman, who also had beaten Whitewater. By the way, congratulations to Mary Merg. Finishes her career, thanks to the consolation game and 30 points in that game, finishes her career as the all-time leading scorer in Wisconsin Whitewater women's basketball history. She didn't win a ring, finished second last year, finished third this year, but the all-time leading scorer is certainly nothing to shake a stick at. Of course, her brother Alex made it to 2 championship weekends and will emerge with 2 championship rings, so maybe she can borrow one of his. But congratulations to the Merg family. Actually got to run into Randy Merg, their father, in Salem. Wonderful brief conversation after the confetti had fallen. It was fun to chat with him. And right about the time we were chatting, Mary Merg called. So understandably, he had better things to do than talk to me. But congratulations on those on that family. Terrific student athletes, terrific kids. Not that they're kids, really, in our eyes. School should be proud. Parents, I know, are proud. They hold themselves well, and congratulations to those 2 programs. Back to FTU Florham, though. I mean, outstanding win for a program that, how long ago were they just barely afloat, as it were? Let's see here real quick. See, they're in the Mid-Atlantic. Just almost made the same mistake I've been making all year. They'll be back in the Atlantic region like their men are next year, but they're in the Mid-Atlantic technically right now. FTU Florham. I mean, think about this. 33-0 this year to win a national championship. They were 24-4 last year, losing the first round of the NCAA tournament. The year before that, they were 13-13. Year before that, in 2011, they were 9-6. It's a quick turnaround, isn't it? From 9-6 to national championships in 4 years. Certainly got it done there in Madison, New Jersey. Coach Mark Mitchell at the helm for that. Got to give them credit. The last time they had above 500 record before last year's 24-4 was 2008 when they were 18-11. So certainly big turnarounds there for FDU Florham. Coming up next, we'll actually hear from one of their main stalwarts in Jaleesa Lewis. Gordon Mann sits down with her, and then we will talk to Gordon Mann himself about the women's side of things and that FDU Devils squad. That's all coming up here on Hoopsville. If you've got questions for us, tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. You can also join us on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville. Love to hear from you. And we'll try and answer your questions if you have any. We'll even try and recap some things down the road as well. Going to take another break. When we come back, Gordon Mann's interview with FDU Florham's Jaleesa Lewis. You'll listen to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Basketball Coaches. Back with more Hoopsville right after this.
Division III schools offer academic scholarships instead of athletic scholarships. This really puts the focus that the student athlete needs to maintain that GPA.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
I think there's more opportunities for academic scholarships in Division III. A lot of people pick schools just based on the sport and don't get that experience.
Being a Division III athlete and developing my leadership skills has definitely put my name out there and helped me get more recognition on campus, but more recognition nationwide. I did win the Jostens Trophy, which is based on leadership, academics, and then how well you do on the court.
I'm also the Schwartz Scholar of my class. Schwartz Scholarship is basically a scholarship that is given to a student who's identified as a likely leader.
At the end of the day, it won't matter how they play on the field, it will matter how they do in the classroom.
College basketball lives in Kansas City at the College Basketball Experience at Sprint Center. The College Basketball Experience is the place to get your game on. It's not a museum, it's an experience you won't forget. Discover the history of the game in the National Collegiate Basketball Hall of Fame, featuring the Gallery of Honor, Mentor Circle, and Honor Theater. Suit up in the latest CBE logoed Nike gear at the CBE Hoop Shop. Elevate your game today and visit the house that college basketball built.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. and we've been covering it all for over a decade. From eastern to occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at d3hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
Hello, this is Gordon Mann from Stevens Point, Wisconsin. I'm sitting with Jalissa Lewis, the hero here of the second half for the FDU Florham Devils, who are unbelievably undefeated, 33-0. And I'll say I didn't expect it, but you guys proved all the doubters wrong and all the way to the national championship undefeated. Now I'm going to ask you a two-part question here. First, physically, how are you feeling? Because that was a tough game, and it took a little bit of help for you to get off the ladder after cutting a piece of the net down.
I'm very sore, actually, but I'll be fine. I'm good.
And how emotionally are you feeling? I'm sure much better.
Yes, I'm elated. I couldn't have wanted to go out any other way.
Talk about the game when you went down and you got hurt. First, was it your shoulder? You looked like you were favoring one of your arms, or was it your leg?
It was actually my whole right side. Okay. Yeah. But I went down pretty hard, but I don't know, I just had to kind of shake it off there and come back into the game. It was really my teammates that actually, helped me and really pushed me to go back into the game. So if it wasn't for them, I don't even know if I would have the courage to actually go back in. So
you scored 12 of your 21 points there in the second half, and after Kyra really led the charge in the first half, you were the offensive leader in the second half in terms of looking for your shot and driving to the rim. Was there something about the defense that you saw that you could exploit? You were very aggressive in the second half.
Well, we just stuck to our game, what we do best, and I didn't want to lose, so I just went after it, and I tried to motivate my team as well to do the same. Go after it. Leave it all out there on the floor. And that's what I did.
I talked to Coach Mitchell about his recruiting story. We did a story on Alyssa McDonough. We did a story of recruiting earlier in the season on Kyra and Kara. Now, he couldn't have come to you when you were a senior in high school and said, come here and we're going to win a national championship and we're going to be undefeated when you come here. So what was his pitch to you when you were a high school senior?
Well, actually, I'm the one who called him.
Okay.
My first 2 years, I actually went to Virginia State, and I wanted to come back home and be closer with my family so they can see me play. So I actually reached out to him. He was recruiting me since, I'd say, junior year of high school. I went to the Poconos camp with him, so he always kept in touch, so I reached back out to him.
What took you to Virginia State first, and then what brought you back? You mentioned playing close to home.
I don't know. It's just, I want to get out of Jersey, but Jersey's my home, so I wanted to be back closer so my parents and everyone who supported me since day one, playing, third grade on the third grade basketball team all the way to AU, I wanted to, come back so they can see me play.
Talk to me a little bit about two of your teammates. First, Kyra Dayon, first-team All-American, tournament MVP, really a tremendous player. Talk about what it's like as a point guard to play with her in your offense, because she could dribble the ball a little bit, and she's got to be fun to play with offensively, because wherever she is, she's a threat to score, even if she doesn't have the ball.
Kyra's an amazing athlete, an amazing person. I can always count on her, so it makes my job a lot easier. It makes everyone else's job a lot easier. We can always count on her, just like we can always count on all the other girls that are on the floor and our team that's on the bench cheering us on. We all, come together and pick each other up and, support each other and everything. So everyone's amazing. Kyra's amazing.
And the second player, talk to me a little bit about Rachel Groom, who had very quietly an excellent second half, a lot of offensive rebounds, a lot of putbacks, and you guys really thrived on that. Talk about what she brings to the table.
Well, she brings a lot to the table. My second year at FDU, when we were recruiting her to come, I was like, that's it. We need her. That's the missing piece to the puzzle. And at that time, we didn't go all the way, but I knew that she was going to develop into an amazing player, and she has. And she showed up today. She showed up throughout the tournament, and I couldn't be more proud of her. she's an amazing person as well.
Last question for you, because I think I'm depriving you of a pretty cool celebration downstairs. You're a senior,
yes.
So this is it for you for college basketball. So this portion of the interview is sponsored by the NCAA. What will you do when you're done with school, and what will you do with basketball? Will you look to coach? Will you try and play somewhere? What's next for you?
I don't know what's next. I'm definitely going to finish my school, graduate school, and I'm open for obviously coaching and being around and playing some more. Wherever it leads me, I'm open to it. But definitely finishing school.
Well, memo to the coaches out there: if you're looking for a pretty gritty, tough point guard, she's going to be available in a few months. With more from Stevens Point, this is Gordon Mann for D3Hoops.com.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
I know sports is important, but having the academic part along with it is a big plus.
I've discovered in myself, a newfound ability to overcome adversity at all different angles.
At a Division III school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual. The end result, in my mind, is you just become a very well-rounded person.
Before I came into college, I didn't really think I'd be able to balance so much. It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
With a D3 school, there's a lot of time for other opportunities. The coaches expect a lot of you during soccer, but after soccer, that's your own personal time to really find out who you are and other opportunities that you can pursue.
By balancing all of my interests, basketball, my leadership skills, and academics, I'm able to better prioritize my life and to manage it.
College basketball lives in Kansas City at the College Basketball Experience at Sprint Center. The College Basketball Experience is the place to get your game on. It's not a museum, it's an experience you won't forget. Discover the history of the game in the National Collegiate Basketball Hall of Fame, featuring the Gallery of Honor, Mentor Circle, and Honor Theater. Suit up in the latest CBE logoed Nike gear at the CBE Hoop Shop. Elevate your game today and visit the house that college basketball built.
Hey, welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. Hope you're enjoying the end of the season as we recap the championship weekends and look back at the 2013-14 season. Of course, look ahead as well to next year. Gordon Mann's interview just there with Jalissa Lewis from FDU Florham. Congratulations to the Devils on winning that championship. And, of course, we kind of wanted to get a take on what exactly the entire weekend entailed. And so joining us on the Hoopsville Hotline, presented by the City of Salem, proud host of the Division III Men's Basketball Championship, is Gordon Mann. Gordon, are you there, sir? Hello, Gordon? I may have screwed this up. Hello, Gordon. Hey, Gordon, can you hear me? Sorry, folks. I'm trying to figure this out. This is what happens when you take the board with you. Hold on a second. Hey, Gordon, can you hear us? Gordon, my friend. Well, folks, going to take a quick break. Get Gordon on the line here. Apparently we couldn't get everything solved. Coming back. So you're listening to Hoopsville. I'm going to take a break. When we come back, we will get Gordon on the line. You're listening to Hoopsville right after this.
College basketball lives in Kansas City at the College Basketball Experience at Sprint Center. The College Basketball Experience is the place to get your game on. It's not a museum, it's an experience you won't forget. Discover the history of the game in the National Collegiate Basketball Hall of Fame, featuring the Gallery of Honor, Mentor Circle, and Honor Theater. Suit up in the latest CBE logoed Nike gear at the CBE Hoop Shop. Elevate your game today and visit the house that college basketball built.
I know sports is important, but having the academic part along with it is a big plus.
I've discovered in myself, a newfound ability to overcome adversity at all different angles.
At a Division III school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual. The end result, in my mind, is you just become a very well-rounded person.
Before I came into college, I didn't really think I'd be able to balance so much. It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
With a D3 school, there's a lot of time for other opportunities. The coaches expect a lot of you during soccer, but after soccer, that's your own personal time to really find out who you are and other opportunities that you can pursue.
By balancing all of my interests, basketball, my leadership skills, and academics, I'm able to better prioritize my life and to manage it.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at d3hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
Division III allows you to be able to give yourself to other things. Not even just participate in them, but really get involved with them if you want to.
There's a lot of interaction. It's not just sitting back, taking notes. You're actually doing hands-on things and better preparing yourself for your major.
Choosing a Division III school, I've had the opportunity to develop my leadership skills and to be more involved on campus.
Division III in athletics, affords students the opportunity not only to participate in intercollegiate athletics at a competitive level, but also gives them the opportunity to, engage in the other interests in their campus and in their lives outside of that sport and outside of the academics on the campus.
And to have opportunity to have time to join clubs and being able to play basketball, it allows you to just be able to do everything you want to do. I wouldn't change it for the world.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at d3hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
College basketball lives in Kansas City at the College Basketball Experience at Sprint Center. The College Basketball Experience is the place to get your game on. It's not a museum, it's an experience you won't forget. Discover the history of the game in the National Collegiate Basketball Hall of Fame, featuring the Gallery of Honor, Mentor's Circle, and Honor Theater. Suit up in the latest CBE logoed Nike gear at the CBE Hoop Shop. Elevate your game today and visit the house that college basketball built.
And welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. Hopefully we have solved our technical difficulties. If you have any questions for us, tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. You can also email us Hoopsville at D3Hoops.com and Facebook us at Facebook.com/Hoopsville. We'll go to the Hoopsville hotline and pray that Gordon Mann can hear us. Gordon, can you hear us? Hello, Gordon? Gordon, can you hear us, from my friend? Of course not. Gordon, what are the chances you can hear us right now? Okay, none. Oh, wait. You know what? Can you hear us? I didn't even have you on. Can you hear us? Gordon? No. Gordon, can you hear us, my friend? Clearly, this is not working. All right, going to take another break, folks. See if I can resurrect this. If not, maybe we'll just have to dump and trust us that Gordon has an incredible report. You listen to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com. National Association of Basketball Coaches, back after this.
Division III allows you to be able to give yourself to other things. Not even just participate in them, but really get involved with them if you want to.
There's a lot of interaction. It's not just sitting back, taking notes. You're actually doing hands-on things and better preparing yourself for your major.
Choosing a Division III school, I've had the opportunity to develop my leadership skills and to be more involved on campus.
Crappy showing.
Division III in athletics affords students the opportunity not only to participate in intercollegiate athletics at a competitive level, but also gives them the opportunity to engage in the other interests in their campus and in their lives outside of that sport and outside of the academics on the campus.
And to have opportunity to have time to join clubs and being able to play basketball, it allows you to just be able to do everything you want to do. I wouldn't change it for the world.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at d3hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
College basketball lives in Kansas City at the College Basketball Experience at Sprint Center. The College Basketball Experience is the place to get your game on. It's not a museum, it's an experience you won't forget. Discover the history of the game in the National Collegiate Basketball Hall of Fame, featuring the Gallery of Honor, Mentor's Circle, and Honor Theater. Suit up in the latest CBE logoed Nike gear at the CBE Hoop Shop. Elevate your game today and visit the house that college basketball built.
Division III schools offer academic scholarships instead of athletic scholarships. This really puts the focus that the student athlete needs to maintain that GPA.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
I think there's more opportunities for academic scholarships in Division III. A lot of people pick schools just based on the sport and don't get that experience.
Being a Division III athlete and developing my leadership skills has definitely put my name out there and helped me get more recognition on campus, but more recognition nationwide. I did win the Jostens Trophy, which is based on leadership, academics, and then how well you do on the court.
I'm also the Schwartz Scholar of my class. Schwartz Scholarship is basically a scholarship that is given to a student who's identified as a likely leader.
At the end of the day, it won't matter how they play on the field, it will matter how they do in the classroom.
Division III allows you to be able to give yourself to other things. Not even just participate in them, but really get involved with them if you want to.
There's a lot of interaction. It's not just sitting back, taking notes. You're actually doing hands-on things and better preparing yourself for your major.
Choosing a Division III school, I've had the opportunity to develop my leadership skills and to be more involved on campus.
Division III in athletics, affords students the opportunity not only to participate in intercollegiate athletics at a competitive level, but also gives them the opportunity to, engage in the other interests in their campus and in their lives outside of that sport and outside of the academics on the campus.
And to have opportunity to have time to join clubs and being able to play basketball, it allows you to just be able to do everything you want to do. I wouldn't change it for the world. I know sports is important, but having the academic part along with it is a big plus.
I've discovered in myself, a newfound ability to overcome adversity at all different angles.
At a Division III school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual. The end result in my mind is you just become a very well-rounded person.
Before I came into college, I didn't really think I'd be able to balance so much. It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
With a D3 school, there's a lot of time for other opportunities. The coaches expect a lot of you during soccer, but after soccer, that's your own personal time to really find out who you are and other opportunities that you can pursue.
By balancing all of my interests, basketball, my leadership skills, and academics, I'm able to better prioritize my life and to manage it.
Okay, well, sounds pretty good.
I'm wishing my phone line worked better than it is.
I know
apparently.
sports is important, but having the
That much
academic
luck,
part
yes.
along with it is a big plus.
I've discovered in myself, a newfound ability to overcome adversity at all different angles.
At a Division III school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual. The end result, in my mind,
Sounds good. Thanks, Gordon.
is you just become a very well-rounded person.
Before I came into college, I didn't really think I'd be able to balance so much. It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
With a D3 school, there's a lot of time for other opportunities. The coaches expect a lot of you during soccer, but after soccer, that's your own personal time to really find out who you are and other opportunities that you can pursue.
By balancing all of my interests, basketball, my leadership skills, and academics, I'm able to better prioritize my life and to manage it.
College basketball lives in Kansas City at the College Basketball Experience at Sprint Center. The College Basketball Experience is the place to get your game on. It's not a museum, it's an experience you won't forget. Discover the history of the game in the National Collegiate Basketball Hall of Fame, featuring the Gallery of Honor, Mentor Circle, and Honor Theater. Suit up in the latest CBE logoed Nike gear at the CBE Hoop Shop. Elevate your game today and visit the house that college basketball built.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at d3hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
Well, the mic was open anyway, so you probably heard half my conversation with Gordon Mann. Welcome back to Hoopsville. Can't get him on the phone due to a technical glitch with the phone system. Can't tell you why. We apologize. Gordon talking a lot about how FDU Florham really dominated there at the Final Four, maybe coming in as an underdog, and how that region and that area of the country, certainly happy to see someone compete and win a championship. It's not something that happens in women's basketball all that often. Talked about how much that team returns for next year, something you got to look out for next year. Of course, they moved to the Atlantic region. We'll talk about that in just a few minutes. Gordon also talking about how much some teams lose. Whitman, for example, losing a lot of players from this year's squad. The power of the women's side maybe moves back into the Northeast a little bit next year, as a lot of teams like Tufts could bring back a lot of players. Amherst brings back some key cogs. I think Gordon said 4 of the 5 All-Americans all come back next year. Of course, you have Sydney Moss. Can she bring Thomas Moore back? So interesting dichotomy on the women's side of things, how it's been shifted towards the central and a little bit of the west in the last few years. It's probably shifting back to the northeast just a wee bit next year, barring, obviously, teams who improve in ways we don't expect sitting here at the end of the season. FDU Florham, though, again, probably the only championship that school has won in any team sport. I think any championship the Freedom may have won in any team sport. I'm not positive. Of course, don't confuse. And, lacrosse championship, the MAC is a combined conference, not Commonwealth and Freedom. So, hats off to that program. Leaps and bounds for that region or division as well, that conference. We talk about changes for next year. Regional realignment is the big one. So a little bit of that this year. Christopher Newport entering the CAC moved them into the Mid-Atlantic region from the south. But remember, next in the AMCC this year was moved into the Great Lakes from East Mid-Atlantic and Great Lakes. It's moved permanently into the Great Lakes. But next year is the big move. The Midwest, by the way, on the men's side is renamed the Central. And then the WIAC will move into that region. And the HCAC, Heartland Conference, will move out and into the Great Lakes. Those are some of the big moves. And the Atlantic and Mid-Atlantic, the CAC and Landmark, which are split on women's evenly 4-4, they will now all go Mid-Atlantic. In the meantime, the MAC Freedom, which is split up a little bit, they will all go to the Atlantic region. Merchant Marine, I believe, will go from the Atlantic to the Mid-Atlantic off the top of my head. NEAC goes all into the East. It is spread out amongst 3 regions right now. It'll move all into the East region. So those are some of the changes coming next year with regional realignment. How that will have an effect, we will see. But for example, let's just say you stick with the top 2 teams in each regional rankings at the end of the season, get a chance to host. Can you imagine the hosting scenarios in the central region, the new central region on the men's side? Only one WIAC school or one CCIW school or Wash U is going to get to host. Some combination there. You're not going to be able to have 2 WIACs hosting. You can't have 2 CCIWs unless they're both on top of the regions, and then that eliminates the other conference or it eliminates Wash U. Wonder if that changes maybe some of the mentality when it comes to hosting in general. Does this always the top 2 host work? I don't know. I really don't know. I can see the pros and cons to it. You want to reward the regions. You want to reward those the teams at top of the regions to giving them hosting opportunities. I completely get that. But I don't know if maybe that makes the most sense 9 times out of 10. Or 7 times out of 10. Or 5 times out of 10. We'll see. See how those things maybe change. I'm sure there'll be another discussion about the SOS on the men's side. I'm sure there's going to be more criteria conversation on the men's side. There was plenty of conversations in Salem amongst coaches regarding all of that. How will that how will that move forward when the committees get together in June and have their final meetings and then move forward to the next year? Maybe voting for new committee chairs or keeping their committee chairs. It's up to them. Steve Ulrich has 1 more year left on the men's committee and is chair currently. Dave Martin actually has 3 years left on the women's committee. Do both of them want to stay committee chairs? Heck, yeah, I don't even know about that. Maybe they don't want to be chairs anymore. Anything's possible. You're going to get some turnover. The men's committee, for as young as it was, some of them, like Mike Tully out of New England, were filling in for someone who had left, so that tenure is over, even though they haven't served all 4 years. So we'll have some turnover. We'll find out who's going to take over in those regions, as it were, for both men and women. All those changes coming for next season. Certainly will keep you guessing as to what could happen. Memories from this past year. Oh, there are plenty of memories. Me personally saw 84 teams. 85 games featuring 92 teams in men's and women's basketball. That's in person, staying for at least a half. In most of those cases, it was the entire game. Can't even tell you how many games I watched online this year. Too many to count. Too many to fathom. It was a good year. Good year for Hoopsville. The Hoopsville fundraising project was obviously a big success. I want to thank all of you for that. Those who donated enough to get a Hoopsville t-shirt, they will be on the way this week, as we just got them in. We will send them on their way. But the Hoopsville fundraising project, big success. We will now retool this studio a bit. Won't be as crazy and messy behind us, we hope. Also fix whatever that phone line issue was with Gordon. I'm really regretting that we didn't get him on the show. So certainly lots to figure out between now and then, but it was a terrific year to say the least. I can tell you I'm exhausted. The past weekend was nuts. The last month was crazy. The entire season was crazy. Haven't even figured out how many hours we may have stayed on the air this year. We will figure that out, but I have no idea right now. So I'm going to sign off on that note. Congratulations to Whitewater. Congratulations to FDU Florham. 2 terrific champs in their own ways. FDU Florham Devils going perfect 33-0. Whitewater, certainly impressive in yet another championship, 2nd in 3 years. There's lots of people to thank. Thanks to all those at d3hoops.com. Thanks to all the coaches and student athletes we had on the show. We will tally those up and maybe post a link as to how many we had on the show this year. The number's in the hundreds. Also, thanks to Pat Coleman, Gordon Mann, Lenny Reich, Bob Quillman, Rusty Egan, James Wagner, different people we had on the show to give us their take on different regions along with the coaches and student athletes. Thanks to Kerry Harvey Cutter in Salem, John Saunders in Salem, J.J. Nekoloff, Molly Robertson, Brad Bankston at the ODAC for their assistance in the last few weeks as Hoopsville has traveled around. Thanks to the men's and women's basketball committees and their chairs, of course, Steve Ulrich on the men's side and Dave Martin on the women's side for appearing on the show at least 3 times each. We appreciate them coming on. Of course, Dan Dutcher for coming on. State of the State. 2 years in a row, we were pretty good with it. State of D3. We will work with Dan Dutcher as to when we can do a State of the D3 with him again. Talk about what is going on in Division 3. Certainly would like to keep that a yearly thing if possible. And want to thank all of you for tuning in and making this show so popular this year, and certainly help with the fundraising project. If it wasn't for you, we probably wouldn't be doing the show still. And most importantly, thanks to my family, my wife, Ann, and my kids, Andy and Molly, who have not seen much of Dad recently, but I hear they are home from dinner. So I think I'm going to go up there and surprise them. So if you don't mind, we're going to end the show a little bit early tonight. I'm exhausted. It was a wonderful season. Looking forward to next year, to say the least. Hoopsville Classic, quickly before we go. Here are the 8 teams we have confirmed. Wittenberg, Mary Hardin Baylor, Chicago, Cabrini, Catholic, St. Vincent, Stevenson, of course, and WPI. 8 teams confirmed now. Working on maybe 10 or 12. Hoopsville Classic. First, the weekend before Thanksgiving in 2014. It'll be the 3rd annual. If you have any questions for us in the meantime, you can always tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. Email us hoopsville@d3hoops.com. And, of course, on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank all of those at the National Association of Basketball Coaches, including the core of coaches I work with in Division III. Charlie Brock, Paige Moyer, Gary Stewart, I should say, at Stevenson, Gary Stewart, Mike McGrath, Pat Cunningham, and all the others who have helped us throughout the years on Hoopsville. Appreciate their support. And looking forward down the road to working with them yet again. It was a wonderful 2014 year, 13 and 14. Appreciate your support of being on here at the show. Sorry for the technical difficulties tonight, but it was a good show nonetheless. Congratulations once again to Wisconsin Whitewater, their 2nd title in 3 years, 4th overall. And congratulations to FDU Florham, back-to-back undefeated seasons in women's basketball. This year it belongs to the Florham, their first ever national championship. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll be back on the air whenever we need to, but especially in November. Good night. Thank you for your support, and we'll see you next season.